Biden's Buy American and what that means.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Noom, providing an online evaluation and the tools to help people lead healthier lives through behavior change. More information at Noom, Noom.com. And by Fidelity Wealth Management, providing perspective on a client's entire financial picture. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC.
David Brancaccio here. Good morning. President Joe Biden is set to sign an executive order today designed to beef up rules so government agencies buy American, rules that had been a bit loosey-goosey. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer joins us from Washington with more on what is happening.
The executive order is supposed to fulfill a Buy American promise that Biden made during the campaign. Now, David, there is a law that requires federal agencies to buy from U.S. companies, but there are loopholes. For example, a product can be labeled Made in America, even if just 51% of the materials used to make it are actually from the U.S. The executive order is expected to raise that domestic content threshold, although federal agencies will still be able to request waivers, allowing them to bypass the Buy America requirements.
All right, these stricter rules enforced how?
The administration plans to create a new position in the Office of Management and Budget, and that person will be responsible for reviewing waiver requests and monitoring implementation of the order. Plus, waiver requests will be posted on a new website. The idea there is domestic producers can read the waivers to see if they can make the product the agency is requesting the waiver for.
And there were moves to do something like this under Trump.
True. Trump did sign a number of executive orders trying to strengthen these rules, but those orders weren't formalized until days before Trump left office, so they were never enforced very well.
Nancy, thank you. Let's catch up on the new version of Paycheck Protection Program money for pandemic-ravaged businesses. Marketplace's Justin Ho checked in with two smaller banks administering these.
When the program kicked off last year, banks encountered glitches trying to process applications. Peter Alden at Bay State Savings Bank in Massachusetts says this time it's been a lot smoother.
We gained a lot of knowledge in the first round.
He says banks have a much better sense of what to expect this time. So do second-time borrowers.
There's not quite so many questions about what are the documents that I have to give you and all of that.
At Optus Bank in South Carolina, CEO Dominic Miarton says many applicants have been new customers, applying for their first PPP loan or coming over from a different bank.
I spent 30 minutes on the phone with a first-time customer, helping her with her $2,500 application.
Miarton says so far, the average loan size is about half of what it was during the initial program. That's because first-time applicants are seeking smaller loans.
Generally, most of these are fairly small businesses with 3 to 5 employees.
He says that's a sign the program's working the way it's supposed to. I'm Justin Ho for Marketplace.
Markets, the Dow future is little changed. The S&P future, actually it's the NASDAQ future, up 1%. The 10-year interest rate is down at 1.08%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Omidyar Network, a social change venture that is reimagining how capitalism should work. Learn more about their efforts to recenter our economy around individuals, community, and societal well-being at omidyar.com. And by Parametric, a new year brings new opportunity for advisors to offer passive investors tax efficiencies that ETFs can't. More at customtothecore.com. And by C3.ai. C3.ai software enables organizations to use artificial intelligence at enterprise scale, solving previously unsolvable business problems. Learn more at C3.ai.
President Biden has extended a pandemic ban on evictions and foreclosures. He's also pushing for more aid to help struggling renters and homeowners pay their bills. Still, the new administration, like the one before and the one before and the one before that, face long-term affordability crises. Marketplace's Amy Scott reports.
The pandemic has taken a bad situation and only made it worse.
We have a huge shortage of housing for pretty much every income level except the very highest.
David Dworkin is CEO of the National Housing Conference, which advocates for affordable housing. He says a lot of home builders went out of business in the last recession. Those who survived focused on higher-end housing, where they could make more money. And now, historically low interest rates are fueling demand for what has become a record low supply of available homes.
That's one of the reasons why we've seen housing prices continue to rise and become less affordable, even though we're in the middle of a historically deep recession.
The Biden administration has proposed a tax credit of up to $15,000 to help first-time buyers with a down payment, and a $100 billion fund to build and upgrade affordable housing for renters and buyers. Emily Hamilton is a research fellow at George Mason University's Mercatus Center. She points out the biggest barrier to building more housing is local restrictions, so the federal government relies on incentives.
By either offering grants to localities that are doing well or taking away grants from localities that are doing poorly in terms of allowing more lower cost housing to be built.
Biden's pick to lead the Department of Housing and Urban Development is Congresswoman Marcia Fudge of Ohio. She's pushed for more funding for the Home Investment Partnerships Program, which gives grants to state and local governments to create affordable housing for low-income people.
It's one of the biggest programs that HUD is responsible for.
Cottrell Lewis is Director of Advocacy for Habitat for Humanity, New York City.
This is now the time, if COVID showed us anything, that housing is essential, and we really need to have a bold agenda for housing equality.
That comes with a bold price tag. The housing plan Biden campaigned on would cost $640 billion over 10 years. I'm Amy Scott for Marketplace.
And you've been seeing variations of Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders at the inauguration, dressed down in the mittens and snowboarder coat, looking like he's waiting for someone outside the fitting room at TJ Maxx. My favorite so far is a Photoshop of aging Sulu and Chekhov at their positions on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise, with inauguration Sanders glowering from the captain's command chair. Star Trek, The Final Generation, it says. Sanders is actually into the meme and is authorizing its use on sweatshirts, etc., to raise money to help feed low-income seniors in Vermont. He projects it'll make millions. I'm David Brancaccio. You're listening to the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.